I spent well over 30 hours in the latest beta of the biggest Manor update that dropped yesterday to finally build a castle. Some would say most of the time went into finding a rich stone deposit in a starting position. Anyways, we also built a pretty cool circular city, more about that later, to feed in our big ambitions, but I'm gonna talk you through the start first of all, and then we go step by step through my development. It's gonna be really cool. So first things first, I started when the big update went onto the beta branch, and I right away made my pretty much always the same kind of starting development with, going for a good setup, having a, storage and granary at this same spot, going for the first veggies and making sure that, kind of all the food and ingredients are right at the beginning. I had a very good starting point, to be honest, with a lot of nice stuff. Not only the rich stone deposit came in handy, but also fish and some mushrooms and, a very nice area here where we can put some wells down. So all in all, I found a very good starting position, a very generous one, I would say. And also we are not playing with AI opponents, because this time it was all about development and finally going for that castle. So why didn't I do the castle before? Because, well, I was actually one of the people suffering a lot from that clothing bug that was happening beforehand. So I couldn't just go to the third level. There was just no way to do that at all, simply because they would never have enough clothing. That was very hard. But also, during the beta, there were some massive changes. I'm certainly not the channel that usually does all the updates, but let me tell you, there were so many balancing updates throughout the beta before the big update finally dropped to the public branch yesterday, that the complete balancing of food was changed multiple times. So I ran into food issues here and there. They changed the value of certain trade goods, including stone. And as I was going for a rich stone deposit, I did lean a lot of my trade onto stone, which was pretty much a bad thing, because at some point they reduced this, I think, the value of it by half, and all of a sudden I wasn't gaining enough local money to purchase my beer, or ale, I should say. So that's something we are going to face off later. But for the moment, we are off to a very nice start, and I focused this time around to really ensure that I'm moving, for example, my foresters and stuff, and my woodcutters with the development. Usually I do forget about that, but this time around I did go for a very good start. We laid out everything how we needed it, and I also ensured that we could go pretty early on for a big migration. For those of you who don't know, you need to reach at least 75% of local approval, and if you have that one, you will have 2 migrations per cycle, which is needed to have a good income, not income, but inflow of people and workforce or families, so the families can work for you. The system, which has been still developed and still improved, from having the houses being actual workplaces to, have animals for food, or actually to have vegetables for food, or have goats for hides and beehives for making sure that the buildings around get a positive effect from it. And also you can now sell honey and so on. A very good initial start. Here you can see the development. We will have a couple of time lapses like that, included in that video today, where you can see the development. I find this very satisfying. Jumping quite a lot forward, you can see our little town developed very nicely. I made some local money to make sure that we can finally purchase a couple of vegetables and stuff like that. I may say one thing I totally messed up at the beginning. I forgot to go more into the fruits. I haven't seen that the level 3, actually level 2, does need a variation of foods now. They made sure that there is a lot more balancing also to what the different levels require before they can go into a higher level. So the first level pretty much stayed the same, but the second level now has a lot more varied demands. So they obviously need clothing, which you can fulfill with any clothing, but food is super varied. You do need meat, you do need kind of vegetables, but you also need fruit vegetables. That means it's not enough if you've got lettuce and radish and the carrots. You also need one of the 3 available kind of tree-grown fruits, which I totally didn't know of, and I just didn't look too much into them at the beginning, simply because they take multiple years to give you full gain, or like the full harvest, and so I didn't focus on them because I was focusing on purely having enough food with the fields. Speaking of fields, they also changed the balancing of rye relatively late on. Also, Emma and Ray are now connected as the same kind of area where they are working. So that means usually you had rye being somewhere else, and specifically in those areas that didn't have all the kind of soil ingredients that you require to make a good, emmer production, you then at least could go for rye for a bit. And they most likely were in separate regions. But all of a sudden, they changed this to being the same regions. I needed to completely reallocate my entire farms, which was a pain to do, to be honest. And it took me a while to figure out to get all the breads and stuff back in. So basically how it works now is that rye is now always 1.5 more likely to work than emmer in the same position or in the same location. So that means basically in those areas where you require or you have a very nice fertility, you will basically never go for anything else than that. But also, as they need in the third kind of level, they will now need both. So that means rye and emmer breads. Then you need to balance that out better. However, at some point I was like, finally we have that deep mine ready for stone. As you can see over here, a very busy working going on in our stone mine, and that was the point to gather a lot of stones. As you can see, the castle in the background is already laid out, but nothing was really happening. And if I only knew how freaking stupidly long it's taken to build that castle, I would have laid out my things a little bit differently, because all of the families were busy building the castle in the background, and I figured it took way too long because the stone was just being worked on. So I decided to kind of make a break here and work onto some development of our towns. And to be more precise, what I did is I focused on making sure that we only have a bit of testing here with the first castle. And then I figured that as soon as you have set a castle area, you can't access any building that is within that radius anymore, which is a pain. That means you can't really put anything into the castle itself. So I was like, okay, let's make a break and claim the first new area. Because the reason why I did this is I went into a bit of trouble to have enough clay. That means the only downside of our starting position, the starting territory, it had just a very few clay resources, meaning we just could go for a couple of tiles, and I wasn't even able to go to the third level with that. So at the end of the day, actually I was, but there were just so few that I thought it's not going to be worth it. So I set up an area where we had a deep mine or a deep deposit, a rich deposit I should say, of clay. And again, we did set up our usual kind of starting layout. I wasn't paying too much attention of making it super efficient. I wanted to make it a bit more nice looking. And so the idea to go for this specific location resulted from it being relatively close to the original city already. One of the downsides in Manor for me personally is that you do not have a chance to connect territories after you've claimed them, or maybe you need to reach a certain amount of people and then you can connect those areas. But I found a position here where you can merge the cities pretty nicely. So as you can see, top left is the new area Froschwies, and we are still in Naswies, over Froscheck and Naswies, and this is Naswies, and we are developing, as you can tell, a big new area, a big new suburb of our big city that is exactly at the border to the other area. So it looks like as if this is the same city. It's kind of a bit of a pain because they obviously can't share the same market. So we have two markets just relatively close to each other, but also we do have a lot of storages next to each other, which also cannot share the storage space. I'm going to show this later to you. However, finally, I had all the resources together to go to level 3 and the castle, which was my target to go for initially. And you can see this is where the castle is being assembled. If you want to see it in its full glory, you must wait until we go into the game later on. But here you can see how busy it is. By the way, that's sped up by 2,500 times, actually 25 times I should say, factor 2,500. So that was nice, and I went on to go for level 3 in my initial town. This is actually where we started. This is the first marketplace we ever built. After that, I was like, okay, now it's time for big ambitions, and I went on to expand our main city even further, and I built a circular layout, a fully planned circular layout, which I did very, very early on in Manor, at the very beginning when the game was available, and that was super successful. Still one of my most watched videos, I guess, but that was a very beautiful thing to just do again. And since I had a lot more resources, it was also super, super enjoyable to watch. By the way, I remember there was a function in Manor to put a certain camera position on a hotkey. I remember it being kind of somewhat of Shift F1, Shift 1 or whatever. It just kind of doesn't work for me anymore. So there is a little switch in position each time you see these little time lapses, I'm afraid. If anyone in the comments does know what exactly the new combination is, or if they took it out, let me know. I couldn't find it in any of the changelogs. Also with the changelogs, there's a lot of stuff changed, which I'm going to show you in the game, but also the way how they consume goods, what kind of goods they need, and also that during the phase of upgrade, the goods cannot be attacked by weather anymore, so they won't spoil or anything, which has been the case. And specifically when you build the manor or the castle, which is a super long building phase, there's a lot of goods getting spoiled. I'm very happy they took it out. Same goes for tavern and church upgrades, as you can see in the background, just happening, and level 3 upgrades, which also take a reasonable amount of time if you do not speed things up by 25 times, as you can see over here. Now, our future main village is growing quite a lot, and we're going to have a look at it in-game now. So, let's hop over. This, my friends, is the whole town in its full glory. Well, actually not the whole town. We can rotate and you can see there is even more going on this side, and there's like even more going on this side. And if we just fly over, this entire side of the map over here is already kind of taken. You can see there's unfortunately nothing going on over here. I'll get to that in a minute. I wanted to already have this in place for the real-time view, but unfortunately it's not working. I'll get to that again at the side. But just to give you a bit of a flyover, the moment when we started was all on that little lane over here. This is, just turn around the camera, where our rich stone deposit is. There you can see it here on the right hand side. This is where we started. This is the starting point of it all, and see with the big lake in the background. Gosh, the beauty of this game is always so captivating. I can just play this game for the beauty of it, but like when you have such a big town, for me personally, I don't need all the kind of combat or so. Like for me, it's enough to just make sure everything is working and flowing, and I don't know. It all just looks so fantastic, like going into the details here, seeing all the people work, you know, as these people here in the, I believe that's the iron mine, I guess it is. Oops, there's something floating over here. Should not work. Well, this is some interesting well kind of stuff going on over here, or like a, not a well, but it's like where they grab stuff and bring it up. And yeah, you know, it's still work in progress, but oh boy, this game is so freaking adorable. It's so beautiful looking. It has a very good balance of realism, and you're still making the game work. I'll show you how it's looking. It's not looking too fantastic, to be honest, because I just rushed a little bit in the last couple hours to get to a nice point for the video. But yeah, you can see this is the stone mine, as they're like working in this one. It's been a huge request of mine since the very beginning that we have proper stone mines. I don't know, I've done a video on things I wish for Manor Lords about a year and a half ago, or a year, and most of these things are actually in game, like these kind of real quarries and ponds and fishing and all these kind of things, which, you know, was kind of obvious to receive that. But you also wanted to see the castle. Here is the castle, my friends, and yeah, there are a couple of things going on, and let me show you, and therefore we just go out of this wonderful UI-less view. But this is the manor, the castle we have over here. You can also, I like the fact that you can actually open and close the gate. There you can see. There you go. Then you can also hover over here and see if there are people in there, because you can have you know, soldiers and all the kind of people in, and it's like such a nice effect here with the hover over that you can do this. But there's also like a wall in this one, so that gate over here doesn't really matter. But yeah, I wanted to put like a lot of buildings in here, but it again didn't work. You can also have the outer space open and then the inner space closed if you wish to. This is where like the tax office is, the main tower, and so on. Yeah, very well thought through, very well established, super nicely done. You can see this is where the people could walk on your walls then, if you didn't do it that stupidly like I did over here. But also this is a very interesting way, because there's like no, hold on, do I need to just connect? Wait, there should be a pathway, as you can see people using it, but there's hold on. Yeah, not sure why this isn't exactly working. You can open and close the gate. It's a bit of a mess over here, simply because I dragged these things on. I can show you. Hopefully the game isn't crashing. So the castle builder is the last thing I'm going to show you today, because it used to crash with that many people. You can see we do have also, it still has frosh egg for a reason. So this is frosh egg over here. I should say it in German though, Froschegg. But you tend to, you know, pronounce the English in it anyways. But, you know, all doing good over here. Fuel, food, very nicely done. Over here, in the other one, Nasvis, this is not going particularly nice. As you can see, we are crazy in debt to the king, which means we can't establish a new town, which I wanted to do over here. I put it down to have more people immigrating, but now I need to go fully on taxes, so this is gonna shrink down massively in the next coming month. But as you can see, we have 656 people living in our town, a lot of families, and we still have a lot of open plots over here, 93 open ones. Most of them, or if not all of them, are over here in the circular town. As you can see, this is how it looks. A couple of things are being built right now, being upgraded, because we are running into some issues. I'm gonna show you real quick. Food is relatively okay-ish. It still takes a while until all the rye and grain is shaved and stuff here in April, and we still haven't done that yet. So that takes a while. We're also doing a lot more clothing right now, where I was bad on. I stopped the import of ale, so that's also an additional problem for the people why they're not as happy. But also I created some weapons to sell them, but I haven't had enough money to establish a trade route, which also received a lot of changes. So if you go into the trade, they changed a lot of the things, how the trade routes, what is a minor and major. So for example, if you're in weapons, there are no minor trades anymore. Weapons are all major trades, where you have to establish a route first of all before you can sell them. When we go into the commodities, you can see in here also they changed some values. So now shoes are way more expensive, and also everything is a major trade. So if you want to trade these kind of things, at least shoes, you can make some money of it. So it is relatively recommendable to go for shoes at the moment. That doesn't mean anything, because let me quickly show you which I was leaning on. Hold on, where are the stones I was selling? There, the dress stones is something I'm exporting right now. Wait, hold on, why am I not exporting more than that? They were at 8, I believe, at some point, and now they're down to 5, and this is also why I'm not making money. So yeah, this is a bit of a painful thing. But as soon as you have such a lucky start that I have over here, so like with rich iron and rich stone, you should be okay making money anyways, because out of iron you can literally do anything like tools and spears and kind of weapons, and you can sell them. However, you will always dedicate some workers, obviously some house working spaces, to do these kind of things. Over here you can see we've got a tailor shop. I need to have this go for yarn, because as you can see we are producing quite a lot of yarn over here. Yarn? Don't yarn, it's late, but you know, take some sleep. And also what I could do way better, I need to put all these things on crop rotation, but I just was too lazy to do it. Those over here are fully nicely on rotation, so if we have a look at that, there you can see they're all on rotation, so they work pretty nicely. Those are not, so they will become less efficient in all these next years. Same goes for those. But my plan was to go to this area, which is super fertile. I'm just going to show you rye fertility. As you can see, is super green. And if you go to emmer, you can see it is the same. Just rye, emmer is the same as rye. Just rye is stronger, but it's the same. Actually, you know what? I can show you better in a different region. Let's go. I think this one over here should not be. Is that a fertile region or not? Oh, it is one. Actually, you can see. Let's go into a not so fertile region as mine over here. And as you can see, the emmer. I mean, I took the spaces available, and that was one initially. And now you go to rye, and these were the only regions where it was a little bit possible. And so goes in here. I do see that I have a lot more nice fertile region for rye in my area. So they changed yet again. So that is new land I can take for making rye, which is nice, but I almost have no forest area left, so I may have to reforest this region. Oh, you can see some of the changes have also affected these fields. So yeah, I can delete these fields again and then change over. So there's a lot of rebalancing going on all the time, so you have to realign and reallocate all your fields and stuff all the time. This may also why our food is going down. But as promised, let's quickly go to the castle. Now the problem, as I said, is that as soon as we've built something within the range, there is no way to go there. So I'm going to go to the castle planner, and now you can see there is this outline. So what I can do now is I can just grab that tower and I can move this tower. Hold on, sometimes it just doesn't do the job. There you can see it. I can move it, you know, I can move it outwards here. And also I need to just drag that a little bit nicer like this and like this. So that is going to take a massive amount of time until this is built. But apparently what you can do is you can also just do this. And the game will most certainly allow this to you. If nothing is blocked, and I'm not sure what exactly is blocked right now. Maybe these stalls down here are blocked. Yeah, I would need to see what exactly is blocked, but oh, at the moment I'm just missing the resources, nothing but. So if this would work, all these buildings over here would not be accessible anymore, as you can see, because of the outline of the castle area, which is a bit of a pain. So if you close that, nothing is going to happen. But if we were, and I'm not even sure if I can, but let's go to the other area here. I'm not sure if I can right now build a manor. Oh, I can. That's perfect. Let's put it just for testing reasons. I mean, this is also a nice hill over here where it could sit on. So let's put it just right over here. It's just like, to me, having access to the planner. That's all I need right now. So we can put the tower, let's say, here. That's nice. And we are going to just have the road god here. And now what's pretty interesting is I'm just going to first of all commit. That's nice. So we have this. And I'm going to put, let's say, one house, one burgage plot, just for testing reasons. I'm going to put this one in here, like with a nice little house next to it. So that's going to be built. And if I go, actually these things have to be built. Let's see. I've got so many workers that should not be an issue. So let's just quickly let them build this. While they do this, back to the explanation. Now, if I do have buildings and they are built outside, I cannot, and this is a bit of a pain. There are buildings you can move. Not this one though, but let's say the saw pit is a building you can move. You cannot move inside here. As you can see, the road access is obstructed, which is weird because there is like an open gate and you could technically have it road access, but you can't. This, for me personally, is the biggest issue right now, because obviously I want to build like a nice city within the realms of these walls. I know that the idea of a castle in this kind of sense is not the way it is, but literally in the key art of the game, it's shown the way. So I definitely want to be able to build it. So let's quickly hop over. It's almost built over here. So you can see this one is built. So I'm going to upgrade this house right away. And you can see I can easily access that. Let's see if they build a house very quick for us. Come on, just do the job. Let's do the job, because it is enough to just commit the build, and then you will see that this is not accessible anymore. I'm going to show you in a bit. Come on, just do your job a little quicker. A little quicker. There you have it. Okay, so that gives you a bit more influence. Nice. You could also now start to pay taxes over here if you are willing to. Do I have a tax office though? I don't have a tax office, so that's why not. So let's go into the castle planner. And now I'm going to use a outer tower. I'm going to put this outer tower over here. And now you can see there is this region over here. I'm going to commit this. And now you can see if I click here, I click on the manor. There's like no way to click on the burger slot. Now I still can access that because there's this bit over here. But as soon as I would and build the wall around, there's no way to click this because the manor is always above it. So that is definitely something that has to be improved. This has to be improved. I'm willing to wait for a couple of buildings reaching a nice level and a little market stall in here. So maybe this is going to be my nice castle then at the end of the day. Or I'm going to reallocate this castle fully. I don't know yet. You know, I wish to have like these buildings inside of the... I think that would look so freaking fantastic. Having them in and then just layer these things to have the manor tower towering above everything on the peak of a hill. That would be so cool. You know, I'm a builder. I want to build beautiful, but also I'm willing to work for it. As you can see, spending over 30 hours in this game is the way to go. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed. Let's have a fancy look at this entire build area here. Oh my god, look at this. This took forever and ever. Yes, forever ever until it was in this state. But I hope you enjoyed. If you did enjoy, please consider subscribing to the channel. If you haven't already, I will be keeping this wonderful game on the channel a lot of times in the future. I'll be keeping a close eye on the development of it. I can't wait to do more ideas. I've got some really cool ideas for special builds for different kind of forms of towns and testing, so that will be fun. So you can also check out all the other Manor videos on the channel if you haven't already. A couple of very interesting ones in there as well. So thank you so much for watching as always, and I talk to you in the next one.